Math. The very word, it can make a student shudder, but it really doesn't have to be that way. This is Brad Jackson and Jaron Lois of Mathnasium, and they're here to tell us how they can help your child get over the math fear. We do have some problems behind us. We're going to get to these problems in a minute, but first, what is Mathnasium?
Well, that's a great question. Mathnasium is basically a learning center where we take kids, shore up skill gaps, whether that's in second grade, a senior in high school, or even in college, and we make sure that they understand the math concepts they need for any subject.
I mean, math, it is one of those subjects we need for the rest of our lives. Do you create a customized plan for each student?
Yeah, so what we do is we actually assess a child on their first visit. With that assessment, we can find what those skill gaps are, and what people don't always understand is math is very cumulative, right? The concepts you learn at a very early age continue to build up through algebra, trigonometry. So if you miss a concept early on, you may be missing that same concept when you're doing higher level equations. So then when we shore up those gaps, it makes everything else so much easier.
That's a very good point, because if you have a little bit of a stumble or a gap there where you just can't quite, the light bulb just doesn't quite come on, it does take a little extra help. Tell us about the instructors. How do they interact with the students, and what is the goal?
Yeah, so well, what we do is we look for instructors that like math. On top of that, they have to like helping children, and then we also create an environment that's very, very fun. So when a kid learns something and they're in an environment that's fun and engaging, they want to come back and they want to continue to learn.
And every student, of course, is at a different level. How do you make sure that students kind of stay at their level when they're in a group setting like that?
Well, that's a great question. So again, everybody has a customized learning plan. So that assessment starts us off, and then based on how they progress through their plan, then we will continue to build on that based on what they need or the classes they're going into. And many times we'll actually contact their teachers and say, what would you like us to work on as well, so that, again, we're working hand in hand with the schools.
Great partnership. Okay, Jaron, come on over. I've been dreading this. You have some words, you have some numbers here.
I do.
So what
There's
are we
some
doing? And
numbers
tell
on
us
the
about
board.
this concept.
All right. So what we're doing today is half of numbers. Half of numbers can sometimes be a little difficult for kids, especially if they're not even. We have these bigger numbers up here on the board we'll get to. But for example, we take a number like 30. What's half of 30?
Well, I would know 15.
You would know that it's 15,
child,
right? But for a child, it's a little bit harder. And so what we do is we try to break it up into numbers that they do know half of.
Okay.
For example, 30, we break up into 20 plus 10. And now what we're going to do is take half of each of these numbers. So what's half of 20?
10.
10. And what's half of 10?
5.
5. So we have 10 plus 5 makes
15.
15. And now that's a good concept, right? But we can take it on to these bigger numbers right here.
Now this is not this is not going to be half easy here,
That's a little bit more
remainders
difficult, right?
going on.
Right? Okay. So how about, what if I gave you the numbers to break it up into? What if I said we're going to break this up into
We have
100
about 30 seconds.
and 20 and 5.
Okay.
So what's half of 120?
I don't know. 60. I'm just joking.
60. There you go. Okay, perfect. So we have 60, and then what's half of 5?
That's tough.
That is tough.
It's not an even.
It's not an even number. But what we do is we teach at the very beginning of these half-ofs, we teach how to find half of 3, half of 5.
Oh my goodness.
And then we know that half of 5 is 2.5.
All right.
60 plus 2.5 makes 62.5.
There we go. Well, this is just the beginning. If you are impressed with how easy this is, Mathnasium does have a special offer for our Sonoran Living Live viewers. You can get an assessment and 2 one-hour sessions for just $39. They have 12 Valley locations. To find Mathnasium nearest you, go to mathnasium.com.